Hello and welcome to Harmony Hour with me, Ciara Jean Roberts, nutritionist and yoga teacher. And my lovely guest today is this gorgeous creature, Anoushica. And just to give you a little bit of background, I met Anoushica only a few months ago at the hospital where we are both cared for our kidney condition. And we met at a dialysis roadshow. So we got chatting and I was very impressed with Anoushica's spirit and her joie de vivre, and I was very keen to keep in touch with her, and she very kindly agreed to come and do Harmony Hour. So yes, welcome Anoushica.
Thank you.
Cool. So we're just going to, I think Anoushica's story is very, very fascinating and interesting. So would you mind sharing with us just perhaps the point where, you know, everything culminated in you being really quite unwell and, you know, the time that you had in hospital? Just
so
talk a little bit about that.
Kind of got diagnosed, so it was January 2016 when I was very unwell. Lots of different things wrong with me. I didn't really know exactly what was happening, but I was having joint pains, I was having headaches, I was feeling really unwell, really, really fatigued, and finally I got taken into hospital on New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve of between 2015 and 2016, and after lots of tests I was in the hospital for about 3 weeks, and during that time I got diagnosed with lupus, and they told me that the lupus had attacked various parts of my body. It attacked my kidneys. At that time, they'd attacked the kidneys, but they were still functioning fine, but they could see that there was a bit of inflammation around the kidneys. It attacked bits of my heart. I'd got a bleed in the brain. So many things happened all at once. I can't remember all of them, but everything just kind of all came together, and I was really unwell. But I had a diagnosis at least, and I was put on lots of immune suppressants. And after 3 weeks, I was sent home with, you know, a massive bag of pills. And then a few weeks later, I got a really bad infection, which made me even more unwell. Put me back into hospital, and then into intensive care, where my kidneys actually completely packed it in. And then I was in hospital for another 5 weeks after that. So it's kind of a two-parter.
Yes, very traumatic, hugely unwell. And before that, you hadn't really had any experience of illness, or you know, you'd been a young woman going about your business, a healthy child. Yeah, nothing like this. So this you know, huge shock to your system on many levels. And so when you had your second stint in hospital, how were you when you left hospital, and what was the treatment regime that you were having to follow?
So after the second stint, I actually felt better than I did the first stint, which was weird because I had a whole organ that had stopped functioning. But I think the kind of plan for what needed to be done was a lot clearer, and I'd been in hospital for the right amount of time. I think I might have been rushed out a little bit the first time round. And this time round, I was established on dialysis while I was in on the second stint in hospital. So I was doing hemodialysis.
Yeah, the blood dialysis.
So the blood dialysis. That was, I had a line in my neck, and I was having to do that 3 times a week for 4 hours each time. So when I got taken out of hospital, I was having to come back to hospital, 3 times a week for dialysis, plus appointments. So that was happening on a Monday or a Wednesday, or
very time intensive.
Exactly. So I was in hospital Monday to Saturday, roughly, for a good amount of time after I left.
And how long were you on the hemodialysis for?
I was on the hemo until I think it was July. So I was out April, May, June.
About 3 months.
3 to 4 months.
And how was that experience for you?
It was. I mean, at first there was hope that my kidneys were going to come back, so I was quite focused about, you know, okay, this is fine. I've just got to do this for 3 months, because they gave me a 3-month kind of period. They said, you know, if your kidneys were to come back, they will come back in these first 3 months.
In that time.
So in my mind, I thought, okay, I can do this. All I have to do is do this for 3 months, and then after that, you know, my kidneys would have come back in that time. So, you know, so it's kind of your coping mechanism, I suppose.
Sure.
So at first it wasn't so bad, but as it was getting closer, to this kind of 3-month deadline that I'd been given, the closer I got to that, just the worse it was getting, being there mentally, being around everyone else who was there, because everyone else who was there didn't really, I don't know, obviously nobody was there having a great time, so, you know, it was a bit of a depressing kind of place to be.
Difficult.
Yeah.
Yes, difficult.
Yeah, it's very
and waiting,
difficult.
were you having to like wait for a machine
Yeah,
to be available?
you wait for the machine, and I tried to do little tricks, like if I got there a little bit early, I might be able to get on the machine and so I could leave early. A lot of times I was just like, you know, I don't care, I'm just going to come late.
Yes.
But it just, yeah, you find your own little kind of tricks and ways to try and, you know, make it seem a little bit easier. But ultimately, you know, being there for 4 hours, it's an uncomfortable actual experience because you get really cold, your blood pressure drops and rises. You know, you feel shivery. You just, the only thing you can really do, you think, oh yeah, I'll get loads of reading done, I'll read loads of books, but really,
you just
want
to
shut
kind
off.
of rest
you just want to fall
and sometimes sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to sleep and then wake up and it's done. That's the ideal situation.
Yeah, especially with the background that you'd been through in the preceding weeks. You know, your body is struggling to recalibrate, I'm sure. And then what changed? So the sort of the 3 months on the hemodialysis.
Yeah.
You know,
so then
came and went.
So came and went. So then they were like, so they're not going to come back. So we need to start looking at transplants. We need to start planning for a transplant. So that was the kind of conversation we were having. And when I realised that, you know, this is probably going to be a little bit more long term, and obviously you don't just have a transplant straight away, I started looking at the idea of peritoneal dialysis. So that's dialysis you can do at home.
The other form,
exactly.
which is an abdominal catheter into the belly.
Yeah, exactly.
For access.
And it's not a blood one either. It's all to do with fluids and glucose. So, and I think the biggest appeal was the fact that I wanted to go away, and with that I could go. I just dreamt about going away the whole time.
Freedom
I was in
to
hospital.
travel. Get a little bit back of your independence back.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is so important.
So that was really important because a friend of mine, she was getting married in Sardinia in September. So in my mind, in my head, my kidneys were going to be back by then, so it was fine. But obviously I knew I wasn't going to be having a transplant before September, and I still getting to grips with the fact that I wasn't going to have a transplant because I was still in denial. I didn't want to talk about transplants at all at this stage. So then we talked about peritoneal dialysis, and we got straight onto it pretty quickly. Actually, I got the catheter put in, and then I trained, and then I had it pretty quickly.
Fantastic. And how long was the training?
The training wasn't long at all. I think I just did a day in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said that it was going to take maybe 3 days, but obviously depending
you were comfortable with it after a day.
Everybody was very different. So
yeah.
We just did one day, and then the next day, I think 2 days later, the machine was
delivered.
Yeah, and I was just
like, a brand new piece of technology.
Yeah, it was really scary just having it on my own.
Yes, it is. And then all the medical supplies that come with it.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be a bit overwhelming.
And everybody tells you you're going to get an infection constantly, so you're just like.
But how were you? You didn't get any infections around the catheter. No. Everything was fine. No peritonitis, nothing like that. Yeah. No. So I think the training centre that we both went to has a very high reputation for really strict aseptic technique.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And their risk of infections is very, very low, which is fantastic. Yeah. So I'm so pleased that you didn't have to deal with anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm immune suppressed as well, so that kind of thing was, was really high risk.
Got to be, especially with the other things that you've got going on. You need to manage your lupus as well.
Yeah.
And then tell me what. I think you came to terms with the idea that a transplant was going to be necessary. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit more about that and share with us.
So the transplant, like I said at the beginning, I was just like, I don't want to talk about transplants. If anybody tried to even say the word transplant, I would get so offended. Any nurse that said to me, the nurses are just trying to make conversation.
Yeah,
the dialysis machine.
Just plant a seed.
How when you going to have a transplant? I was just like, I'm not having a transplant. But then after that, I was like, okay, this is going to come to terms with it, and I told my family. Actually, the doctor, Kate Bramham, she actually spoke to my family about it as well, because sometimes it's hard to explain it yourself.
Yes, well, that's great that you had that extra support.
Yeah, exactly. So she was really fantastic. And I can't remember really the process now of how I got there, but I eventually got to the stage where I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be okay. I think I can do this. I think my family were really amazing. My boyfriend was fantastic. My boyfriend, my brother, and a friend of mine, they all came forward to get tested. My brother and my boyfriend were both
compatible.
Exactly. So, and then my brother went forward to continue the tests. They discussed it together and decided my brother was the best person for that. And so I think the fact that everybody and my parents didn't seem to be really supportive of it as well, and everybody seemed to just be so supportive that it just felt like maybe it's okay, maybe I can physically do this.
Yeah.
And it isn't going to be the end of the world. And then I started another thing as well that went through my mind is that I started meeting maybe some other people on hemodialysis who weren't having transplants because they couldn't.
Yes.
And I just think, I'm being so ungrateful here.
Puts it into context, doesn't it? Because, in terms of options, sometimes when you're really ill, just knowing that you have options for treatment and options to, also empower yourself to keep well. Yeah. So you understand your condition, you understand what's happening. But to know that you have options is really powerful. Yeah. And then, so your brother stepped forward, and you were due to have surgery on the 24th of August of this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So tell us what ended up happening.
Yeah. So it was that's a whole year and a half of tests for the transplant. But actually, the transplant kept getting delayed as well because I was having lots of other issues with cardio issues and things like that. So. If I hadn't had all these cardio issues, I probably would have been transplanted a lot earlier,
much sooner.
Yeah, but because of all these other issues, it was delayed, which in a way was kind of a godsend that was delayed because otherwise. But basically, on the 24th of August, I was supposed to have the transplant, and then about 3 weeks before the transplant, we did a test, the PET test, I think it was called.
Yes. Yeah.
So performance test to see how your dialysis is going. And in that test, they said, okay, your kidney, your function is looking quite good. So can you just halt dialysis for like 5 days, and we'll do some tests and see how it goes. I was like, fine. I went on holiday, had 5 days off. It was great. And then came back and they did the tests again, and they said, okay, you can hold for a few more days.
Okay,
so let's do another 5 days. Going. And then 2 weeks later, they said, I think you don't need to go back on dialysis for now. So let's just wait a couple of months and see how it goes. A couple of months have gone by, then they took the tube out that I was using for dialysis.
Which is a big positive sign, because access is such a key issue in dialysis. When you get your access taken out, that things are kind of looking more hopeful. Yeah.
So, so now it's kind of this kind of bit of a limbo. I mean, it's obviously fantastic because I've come off dialysis and I've moved on so far. But in terms of, function, it's not, an incredible function, and it's something that I've thought about just because of the age I'm at. It's something that has played on my mind a little bit because of wanting to live life to the fullest and do everything I want to do at this age.
Yes, maybe possibly have a child, for example.
Yeah, exactly, and things like that.
And your partner.
At some point. So yeah.
Yeah. And what stage is the function at, if you're happy to share that with us?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. So it splits between 16 to 18%.
Yeah.
Function, so which is great because I think I was on 3% at one stage.
Yeah, so it's really
a huge jump.
Huge difference. Because I mean, the amazing thing about kidneys is that you can actually function on about 10%. Kind of anything below that, and people are different. Some people present differently, but that's how powerful the kidneys are. They will keep you going at a 10% level. So in the context of that, you being almost at sort of 18%, it's enough, and it's enough to keep you well. So not just to get by, and to keep you well. And why don't you share with us maybe a few things that you feel help to keep you well? What are the important things to you?
Well, I think first of all, keeping an eye on your diet and things like that was really important. I mean, I don't know, I didn't really do like a strict diet as such, but I stayed to the rules of watching my potassium, watching my salt. But also not stressing myself out too much over it as well. So it's kind of a balance between, enjoying myself, but also, making sure I'm eating enough protein and keeping my strength up and things like that. Even at times when I didn't feel like eating, I'd make sure that I was still doing the things I needed to do.
Getting your nutrition.
Yeah, exactly. So things like that. And then the people around me, having people around me, I mean, that was really, really important. Always talking about everything, writing everything down. I kept a diary. I was constantly writing.
Good.
And
self-expression, releasing. So
that was really good. Meditation I did. That was really, really helped. And then later when I started getting a bit better and stronger, I started doing yoga. I went back to dance as well, which I think might have been a bit too much because I was just kind of excited. I just thought, but I did it. I did it for like a term. And I thought it was really good because it was something that I really wanted to do. But then when I went back to work full time, I had to kind of and also I think going back to work as well really helped because I wasn't just a hospital patient anymore.
Yes.
I was something else again.
Okay, coming back to yourself.
Yeah,
coming
exactly.
back to Anoushica and your own identity and
so that was really important.
Routine.
Yeah.
And what are you doing for work?
So I work in the wine industry. So I work for wine importers and distributors. So I sell to like restaurants and small independent wine shops.
Yes.
And it's an incredible job. I get to travel. So this year I've been to Portugal. I've been to France. In fact, I think Portugal I was on dialysis still, so I was able to take my machine with me.
Pack it up, bring it with you.
Yeah, and my work have been so supportive.
So
they've
good.
been incredible because I've heard stories of other employees that haven't been quite as great, and that's also another key to my
key thing.
Yeah,
I think it helps you have such a sunny and positive outlook, but you've still felt your feelings and you've acknowledged that it's been difficult, which is important, because we can't just sort of feel that we can just have to battle through. We have to acknowledge that you've been through a tough time and you're out the other side. So where do you see the next year or so for yourself?
It's so hard because it's like if I this time last year I was thinking for next year I would have had a transplant and I would have been.
I mean, look at what
happened. Yeah, I mean, and then there's lots of travelling involved because I do feel so much freer not having to dialyse.
Yeah.
And even though I could travel with a machine, as you already know,
it's the logistics of
and your mind.
It's heavy.
Yeah, mentally you've got to think about, you've got to pack so many things.
Like, what if I forget something?
Exactly.
I'm going to be screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it is, so now, I want to travel as much as possible. And yeah, just kind of, just taking each day as it comes and not being too obsessive with what's going to how I'm going to feel in 6 months' time, or just keeping being happy with the present, and
that's it. Day by day.
Yeah.
And so we don't kind of go into overwhelm. How's your brother feeling? Having not, he's still got 2 kidneys.
Yeah, he's still got 2 kidneys for now. I think he's just. I think he's just. He says that he's ready for whenever if or whenever. It needs to be. I think he still thinks that. I think he still thinks that. I don't know. We still don't know what's going to happen with my kidneys. There's a possibility in 6 months' time that they're going to say, maybe I'll still need the transplant. So he just said to me, I'm ready whenever you are. It's here from when you need them.
That's it. It's just it's your options again, isn't it? You have that option.
Yeah.
Somebody who obviously very, very much cares for you.
Yeah.
And it's there, but like you say, day by day, you keep looking after yourself. You keep up with all the things that are helping you, and just go from there.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you would like to share, or that you would like to add, or that you feel inspired to say? You don't have to.
Oh no, I'm on the spot now. I do normally have lots of inspiring quotes, but
what can you think? What quote would come to mind if you kind of were talking to yourself during those really rough times? Maybe in that big few weeks period in the hospital where you're having to have so much treatment and not feeling well. Because maybe there was something that you just felt, or you heard, or you read that just gave you that lift. It could be something really simple. It doesn't have to be profound at all.
Well, I suppose I think it is something really, really simple. But I remember when I was one stage where I wasn't sure whether I was ever going to come out of hospital. I thought I was going to be here forever. And this girl that I know, she's not even that close a friend of mine, but she's she's quite a good, she's a friend of a friend, and she came to visit because she actually has lupus as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but her lupus was completely different to mine. In every way, I think mine was a lot more severe, but also in a completely different way as well. But she did come in though, and she did have a period when she first got diagnosed when she was very unwell, and I think it went on for quite a long time. And so when she came to visit me, she just said to me, I know it doesn't feel like it, but I promise you this isn't forever. Like, there will be an end to this. And that's the thing is, you always think that these things are never going to get any better, but it's so hard for you to imagine. But yeah, if you just got to keep fighting, keep pushing, and before you know it, you're out again.
Things change. Absolutely. We're still there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Anoushica. This is a pleasure to have you on Harmony Hour. Many blessings.